This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 149.
I mean, income's not a dirty word, guys. I mean, if you have a job that allows, like I work second and third shift. Lately, I've been working second, but if you got a job that allows you to trade the morning, like I would think I would stick with it, honestly.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. He is a Greek yogurt expert, Clay Trader.
That's right. You want it plain? Yeah. But if you want to just add in some Tabasco sauce, fantastic. Add in some sriracha, fantastic. Not, you want a little sweetness? Add in some honey. Fantastic. If you need a Greek yogurt recipe, I'm your man. Greek yogurt, non-fat Greek yogurt. We're going to go into health mode here. Non-fat Greek yogurt filled with all kinds of protein. It's good for you, and it's really pretty flexible. And I'm a huge fan of Greek yogurt. I do all sorts of different. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure that on my Instagram, I once took a picture of a thing of Greek yogurt and a sweet potato, because instead of sour cream on a sweet potato, no. Sour cream, no bueno when it comes to health. But Greek yogurt, non-fat, filled with protein, very low calories. Put that on a sweet potato, and instead of sour cream, I'm getting hungry now just thinking about this. But yeah, I'm a master for sure when it comes to Greek yogurt. I'm trying to think. I don't know if pretty sure we've never, I don't know why we'd ever have this well, I could see that because we do talk health once in a while, but are you a fan of Greek yogurt?
You never took me out for frozen yogurt either, so now I'm really upset.
That's probably because there was probably frozen yogurt place at the airport, and you know my airport policy, but...
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that because actually Greek yogurt, exactly like you said, the no fat, super high protein was a staple for my diet probably, 5-6 years ago, and since then I've kind of replace it with more so just a pretty much no sugar protein isolate drink that I have in the morning. So I don't really do breakfast or anything like that. I used to always have Greek yogurt, the good kind that everybody goes, ugh, how could you eat that? I'm like, it's so good for you, and it actually is filling, and it's awesome for protein. I used to always have that for kind of my pre-lunch because I'd space out my meals a little bit. But yeah, I haven't done Greek yogurt in a long time, and I think it's just because I don't know if we've talked about this either. I'm a big intermittent fasting guy. I generally have protein the minute I wake up in the morning, and then the next time I eat is the only meal of the day at like 3:45, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, I don't have that need for kind of that snack anymore. So I guess that's probably the only reason why I really cut yogurt out. But yes, I have done actually the Greek yogurt on potatoes instead of sour cream for the same exact reason.
Yeah, it's very flexible. And if you're somebody that's health conscious or thinking about getting health conscious, just know non-fat Greek yogurt is a very versatile ingredient. Moving on, we have an awesome interview today. We are speaking with Mario. He goes by the same name in the chat room. Actually, MarioR, the letter R. That is his alias in the chat room. If you spend really any amount of time, I'm sure you've seen him. I'm not going to spoil anything other than saying this. If you want to throw an excuse at Ches or I, and then Ches and I come back as appearing rude to you or non-understanding, Mario is a data point on why that's the case. So let's get started with this interview. Mario, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, nice talking with you.
Yeah, and thanks for taking some time out of your morning. Where I know that you got out of that? What was it? I forgot the ticker symbol. It started with the
Lens.
D, didn't it? Oh, L. Yeah.
Lens.
Did you get?
Yeah.
Did you get out of Lens?
Yep, I'm all out of Lens. Short. I wish I was holding more. Craig, that was nice too. But yeah,
it is what it is. In hindsight, we always wish we held more of, but that's just how it goes. But for you listeners out there, a little context: Mario is a very active trader. And, I had to give him a little heads up. I wanted to give him, I think I gave you the T-minus 12 minute mark in the chat room, just because I don't want it to all of a sudden be a situation where, oh, wow, I got to go right now for this interview, and I'm still have like 3 positions open. But so I'm glad to hear that you are totally, are you all cash right now? Or
I'm all cash, man. I even took my platform down. I got everything minimized so I'm not distracted.
Hey, I appreciate that. But I mean, I guess worst case, in a cynical type of way, it'd be in a funny. I obviously don't wish, but it'd be kind of comical if you got in a trade and it just started to blow up in your face, and we had it all like live on the podcast. But I don't want to see that happen to you. But it sounds like that's not going to happen because you are not even going to tempt yourself to be distracted.
No, it's all down.
Looks like you had a good morning, which one thing, again, for listeners, Mario, he's very transparent with his results, always posts them in the chat room, winners, losers, so I'm looking at those right now. And you traded 6 stocks today, and out of 6, you had $759 loser. But listeners, remember, it's all relative. You may sit there and think, holy smokes, you lost $760. But then you had a win of $1,300, a win of $900, a win of $800, a win of $900, and a win of $270. So it's all relative. 750 may sound like a lot, but when you're 5 for 6 and managing risk, it all works itself out in the long run. And so I guess I'm sure we'll cross all these paths and bridges. But let's start right at the beginning here, Mario. Where did this all start for you? When did you first hear about the stock market, and kind of what got you interested enough to the point where you wanted to get more hands-on with it?
Well, basically, I mean, I don't want to drag on too long, but I'll try to make it quick. Basically, I was younger.
We'll cut you off if you drag on, so don't worry. You just talk. Ches and I were very good at interrupting people, so don't worry about it. Awesome. You just tell your journey, and we'll go with it.
All right. Basically, I mean, I remember when I was younger. I don't remember how old, but back in the '90s bubble, my dad would be sitting on his computer all the time. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna buy some stocks for you guys," and yada yada. And he'd be sitting there, and I'm like, "What's he doing?" And later on in life, I found out that, he tried day trading a little bit. And then I met my wife when I was stationed in Alaska, and her stepdad, I had gotten out of the military. I had gotten a decent sum of money, and her stepdad's like, well, why don't you invest that? And me, I'm like, some people out there of the train of thought, oh, it's just a scam. I'm going to lose my money. I mean, let's do the smart thing, right? Leave it in a bank and get 0.5%, So that was my mentality. And so that was back in 2007, her stepdad. And I remember him getting these Netflix DVDs. I don't know how long Netflix was around, but I remember I looked back, I think they were like $20 a share. And, a couple years after that, I'm like, man, if I would have put that money in, like he told me in like Netflix, I would have had, whatever, this and that amount. And
it's always nice to use the calculator and figure out those gains that you missed out on. But,
right.
Going from having
the hindsight.
Yeah, but having it for 0.5% in the bank, then obviously doing what you do now, there's a big kind of disconnect there. So I'm interested to see. So you saw that with Netflix, and then what'd you decide?
And then this was during like 2009. I always heard my uncle and my grandpa. This is when I was like, after I heard them talk, I was like, I'm gonna get a brokerage. They're talking like, yeah, I bought Ford, or I'm buying this company, that company, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, how are you buying? Because I'm still an ignoramus, but I mean, I knew nothing. I'm like, how are these guys buying individual companies? It's like, I'm at work and I knew that mutual funds, there was a bunch of companies in the one, in these funds. I'm like, well, how are you doing it individually? And I'd ask them, and like, oh, we buy it in our Scott Trade account. It's like, really? So,
what year is this, by the way?
2009.
Okay.
2009.
All right, so
around there.
This is a crazy time too.
Yeah, and so I put some money in there. I had quite a bit saved up, and I think I had like $18,000 or $19,000, something like that. And I made I was looking around like at some cheap stocks. Like there was this cement company under $1. Like it ended up going bankrupt later. But I never held it that long to where I lost, a lot of money. And anyways, I made some swing trades in Alcoa and Cleveland Cliffs. And like eventually I like had $60,000. And to back up a little bit, before I had gotten this $60,000, and like this was just, I had no idea what I was doing. It just, everything was low, and I made out. But what the heck was I gonna say here? Yeah, so I was like everyone else. I'm going on iHub. I'm reading all these message boards, and the stock, I forgot what it was, but it was still like going up. And this guy is on the message board like, "Oh, it's crashing, it's crashing." And I'm thinking to myself like, "Dude, I'm up like 3 points right now. What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, I'm a day trader. I just made 40 cents on it." I'm like, "What?" And he showed me his gains, and he had like $2,000. I was like, "Wow." I was like, so that kind of piqued my interest in day trading. And I'm like, because I'm reading all this stuff like, yeah, it's crashing, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been in this like 3 points lower. It's not crashing? And so yeah, that's where I really, you know, piqued my
Started to hear
interest in
about
day trading. Yeah, those
okay.
short-term moves.
I got a
And
question though. I mean, you had grown the account. Where exactly were you getting all your ideas from? I mean, were you just running social media searches? Were you just talking to your friends and family? I mean, you're obviously doing well, but where did these ideas actually come from?
Cleveland Cliffs was just because they have the Empire mine that's shut down now, but that was up in like it's near Marquette, Michigan. So and there's some people. I work at a mine, so Cleveland Cliffs was of interest to me, and Alcoa I heard about because I had gotten beat up. I made good money in Cliffs, and then I used margin, and like I don't know this was when it was like at $17, and it dropped down to like 14, and ended up using margin, and like it gapped down 2 points on me like a few days later, so I lost a lot there. But I was just frustrated. I had like 60,000, and then I lost all my gains, and I was back down again to like I don't know, maybe 23 or 22,000. Because I had traded other stocks in there too that I can't remember.
Okay, now what did this decrease come after you had heard about this day trading type thing from the message? Okay, so this is after you started to try to day trade when the account started to go down.
Yep. And I had lost. I mean, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about support and resistance. I didn't, I mean, nothing. I'm just.
Well, you very clearly knew nothing about time frame analysis, because here the day trader is talking about, oh, it's crashing, it's crossing. Obviously talking about maybe like a 2-minute, 5-minute time frame.
I didn't even know about that. I would just look at a daily chart.
Yeah. That's funny, because we all start off there. It's like, first off, what is even a chart? And then to think that, wait, charts have like layers of context within the same chart. It's almost kind of like mind-blowing at first. But so I can totally see that. So I guess what was your day trading strategy then? If all you were looking at was a daily chart. Okay, so you would just it was pretty much as simple as, I think this is going to go up. I don't know why I think it's going to go up, but it's dropped for a little bit, so I'm going to buy. Or was it? I mean, even more random than that.
Pretty much because like my entries, like they weren't even like smart to where like obviously you want to buy support, and I mean they were just there was no really strategy, man. I just trial and error, and I didn't know nothing. I mean, I'm not that smart of a guy as it is, but yeah, back then, I mean, that's just you're asking for trouble.
Okay, so I mean, was there a final trade, a group of trades? But you said you brought your account from 60 down to, we'll just call it 20 to make the math nice and round. So you hit that 20-ish number in your account, and did something happen where you said, all right, I got to tap the brakes? Because obviously you didn't drop it from 60 down to 10. I mean, was there a certain trade? Was there some sort of event that happened that made you kind of finally wave the white flag and say, wait, I gotta reassess the situation?
Well, I had that gap down in Cliffs. Like, I can't remember the year, Clay, but I had that gap down in Cliffs, so I lost a lot. And I'm like, and I had at that time the day trading count, margin 4-1 buying power. And so I made other trades too, but I had lost, I think in a week, maybe 17,000 or something on top of like that Cliffs. It was a lot, but yeah. So I mean, after I got down to like that 22, 23, like I stopped for a bit, and there's this guy who works for my dad, and him and his brother are really, really big into the market, and you wouldn't know it, like they were millionaires, but he worked every day. He's like, yeah, I work 40-hour, 50-hour week to pay my taxes, but so I was like, hey, you got any stock tips? He's like, yeah, I'm watching Alcoa. And that was when Alcoa, a few years ago before they broke off here, but they were like or $8 a share, and I caught that move all the way up to $13, $14. And then that's when I got up and I got my account again. I blew up that account. I'm still learning day trade. And when I say blow up, I mean under the pattern day trader rule. I mean, I lost.
Gotcha. That's a good clarification too for listeners.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I don't
good.
mean I lost, but I lost a lot of money. Like just within this past years when I started like clicking. You know what I mean? I've been at this day trading like 5 years. So I mean, I lost money. If you had to, steady.
Okay, and I mean that's not even an uncommon thing too, and especially different periods of the market, things can go well for you, and if you kind of make some good choices, you can catch moves like that. Like you said, it's from 7 to 13, practically doubling whatever you're, pretty much almost making 100% on a trade, which is pretty crazy. So here's my question to you though. You'd done this a couple times over now. At what point, you said you just kind of started getting it now. Rounding the corner, was there a specific event or specific decision you had made where, hey, I'm not going to buy this anymore, I'm not going to sell this anymore, this needs to show up or this needs to show up? Did it get more regimented, or what made you actually turn the corner? Because anybody listening is probably like, oh, crap, I just need to throw a bunch of money at this and I'm going to make some and lose some until I actually figure it out. Is that what happened with you? Is it just strictly trial and error?
I mean, I was still... like I learned from just listening to other people and stuff and other traders. So I was like, eventually, like after all the screen time I had and just picking up, because I would definitely recommend anyone, if you're going to do this, like you need to get educated for real. Like, so like this is all I learned by trial and error. I never paper traded, but yeah, I just picked up stuff random from other traders. And I made like my own style. And one day, this is actually how I got into short selling, because I was strictly a long trader, which is now all my trades are basically short. My Scott Trade platform froze up one day, and I'm in these positions, and I call my broker. I said, "Hey, get me out." And he's like, "Yeah." It was in that local that crazy chicken restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Local, yeah. Local, I was in local, and then I was in EXAS, Exact Sciences.
That's still one of your favorites.
Yeah, it was at like $17, and I wake up the next day, and they're showing me negative 3,000 shares on EXAS. I'm like, what am I doing? How is this negative 3? I never shorted. It's like, why am I negative 3,000? It gapped down a point, and I'm up. So I'm calling Scott. I'm all mad. I'm like, why am I negative 3,000 shares? Why? And Josh is like, dude, he's like, you're short. I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, you're short, right? I'm like, I guess. I said, how do I get out? And he ended up closing me out in pre-market. But so I'm like, wow. Because
how did you get in, though? How did you get in the short side?
I must have hit the short side on excess the day before it froze. When I meant to sell 3,000 or something, you know what I mean? I must have hit it, sell twice or something. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know, man. But that's when I opened my eyes, like, wow. Because shorting, I thought it was real hard to do, and it definitely is dangerous, no doubt, especially on these low floats. But if you got a strategy, it can be nice. But yeah,
and I want to quickly just because I realize it sounds like he's being kind of vague. I talk to people and I just pick stuff up, and it was just trial and I totally relate to Mario, because that is how I learned how to trade, was trial and error. And I've done a video on this. Trial and error does work. Free information out there does work. My only thing is you better have a pretty deep pocket. You better have a pretty good chunk of change, because you're going to burn through cash. And I realize, listeners, Clay, you're just saying that because you sell courses. And that's a fair point. But when I got into real estate investing, my first thing I ever did was I am not going through trial by error again with real estate investing. No way. So I forked over, give or take, right around $5,000 I paid for learning structured education, because after going through what Mario went through and what I can, like I said, totally relate to, I realized he was vague. But that's really all I can say is you just pick stuff up randomly. But the underlying, I realize that sounds good, but the problem is, and Mario, you can definitely chime in, but I mean, Mario's already talked about blowing up accounts and losing money and, having an account go way up and then way down. So talk about roll. I mean, it's a costly procedure. And, you made the comment, to listeners out there, you would definitely recommend education, because after going through all that, I mean, it's probably cheaper just to pay for something and get something structured right in your face right from the get-go. I mean, would you agree with that general philosophy? And I'm not saying my courses or anything, but just the general philosophy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, you need to. I mean, think about what I was doing. I had $60,000. I mean, and I had like, there was no method to my madness. Like, I didn't even know about support resistance or levels or anything like that. Like, I mean, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I picked up stuff from like just listening to other traders and that. But I mean,
but you're losing money as all this is going on, right?
I mean, I've lost over 6 figures. So
there you go. There you
go.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the candidness, and that actually makes it so much more awesomer. I don't think that's a real word to see how you're doing right now. But I guess where did you finally was learning about technical analysis and charts? Was that just one of those things that you eventually stumbled on somewhere on your journey where you heard about it and you then just started to piece things together on your own?
Yeah, I mean, like if I'm like some of these like junk China copies like CETC when it had that T12 halt, like I will pay attention if I'm gonna trade that. Like I guess to the fundamental side, I'll look at the SEC filings in that. Like I would never go long them. I'd be too scared, even short, to get your money tied up. But yeah, technical analysis. I mean, the way I trade is, I like a extended stock that's been up for multiple days that's heading into pretty decent supply zones, and I map them out using the weekly or daily charts, and I'll just like a general area that I gauge that I'll get short, and I'll fade it for that intraday fade, but yeah.
For the fade, let me ask you this as a fellow fader, what's your ideal position size? And then of that ideal position size, what is usually that first order going to be?
Depends on the stock. Like, I mean, I'll risk $500 to like $1,500 on a trade, so I'll position size accordingly. Like, I'll just map out those. It really depends, Clay. Like, I don't know. That a lot of times I'll just initially go in 1,000 to 2,000 shares, depending. Every trade's different, really.
Sure. Now,
but I want to go ahead, Chets.
Well, I was going to say, I just wanted to loop back to find out if that, that moment you were short in Scott trade so long ago, that to me seems like the real eye-opener to you, because now anytime I generally see any of your trades that you kind of post in the chat room, you're like a big short-sided trader, and it makes total sense if you're kind of plotting this stuff out on the daily and weekly and figuring out where you think there's good supplies going to come in. But would you agree with that? Kind of after seeing the power of shorting, it's pretty appealing to you.
Right. Yeah. It's to me, I'm more comfortable short. Even though for sure, I mean, you really got to be careful on these low float stocks. I mean, you can get hurt badly. But yeah, I mean, the long side, I would always buy it, and it would just come back against me. And for some reason, I can see it better when I'm not in a long trade. Like I can see better to where I can think to myself, okay, if I was long, where would I be selling? And then that's where, I'm thinking that's, a good place to get short. But yeah,
I really want listeners to kind of pick up on that, because you are not just looking for things that affirm your position. You're trying to think about the other side of the coin, because essentially every trade that we put on as traders, intraday, longer time frame, whatever it is, there's this push and this pull between buyers and sellers. So this is awesome to hear, because I mean, you don't even think anything about it nowadays because it's so natural to you. But he's looking at it from the other side of the coin. He's like, well, what is a red flag if he was a long? What would he be like? It's probably time to leave here. He wants to catch that whole flush and people leaving and kind of, running out the door as fast as they can. And he really can get some sharp moves down, which, I mean, a lot of the names you trade, just like you said, overextended and as fast as they go up is usually they'll go down 3 times as fast. So
right.
It's cool to hear that, because that's a little gem that I hope some listeners pick up on.
And like, to give you a perfect example, what I'm talking about is like, because I'll if I like the way the stock's trading in a range, like I'll I'll get to know that stock and see how it trades intraday, and if it gives me the right range, I will trade that till I don't have my edge anymore. But like QD, for instance, that was my go-to a few weeks ago. If you pull up a 60-minute chart, every time it was a guarantee, just anywhere in the 1450s to 1460s get short, and it fade intraday. You could get down to 1410, sometimes under 14, and it bounced back. But I mean, that's a huge, to me, a 30-40 cent move is huge. I mean, sometimes you could get more, but yeah, it's so.
Yeah, and I want to just because I don't want listeners to think, well, he's being so general with his answers. Well, it just depends on the stock in terms of how he approaches it. Well, he actually already told us all how he approaches it. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, your whole trade plan, and you are defining the quote-unquote "it depends," is based off of, do I want to risk $500 on this, or do I want to risk $1,000 on this? And then from that number or some number within that range, that's where everything else evolves from. That's where entry points evolve from. That's where stop losses evolve from. That's where how many shares evolve from. Is that a pretty much a fair analysis of kind of how you define the quote-unquote "it depends" is just based off of what you're willing to lose for?
Yeah, I mean, well, look at Riot. I mean, to me, a big position on Riot, I would not feel comfortable. I mean, I'd be pretty uncomfortable with 1,500 shares. I mean, it moves 30-40 cents at a time. So, I mean, if you just got to, position accordingly.
And accordingly is based off of what you're willing to lose, right?
Like I go into every single trade, what am I willing to lose? But at the same time, like, I'm not going to enter a trade unless I think I can get at least. So if I'm risking 500, I want to make 1,000. You know what I mean? I want to get at least 2 to 1. So like if I'm risking 5 cents and that number is, say, a 10,000 share position, if I'm risking 5 cents, it's $500. I'm looking to get 10. You know what I mean? Out of it, if I'm risking 20 cents, I want to get 40. But each stock moves so differently. Like, you can't trade Riot like I can like QD.
Right.
So,
and at the end of the day, a Riot could produce $1,000 loss a lot quicker than
easy.
What some, so therefore, and that's what I mean is if you know that your max that you want to risk on something is $1,000, then knowing how Riot trades, as you're saying, that's why you got to learn how stocks trade. You're going to know, all right, well, I can't take a 1,500 share position on Riot because that $1,000 could come within a blink of an eye because that thing moves so fast. Whereas on another stock, if it moves a little slower, okay, yeah, I could do a 1,500 or I could do a 5,000 share position, and that $1,000 loss, kind of mile marker, if you will, that becomes a lot more realistic, and it's not going to happen within a matter of 2 minutes. So I mean, essentially, it sounds like everything revolves around what you were willing to lose, and by looking at that number, everything else kind of falls into place because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you can just all of a sudden get blown out of the water in Riot, for example, because you would never take a 5,000 share position in Riot, right? Because that you could easily lose well beyond $1,000 if it were to go against you. And sure, Mario could sit here and be like, well, I was disciplined with a stop loss, but yeah, he still got blown out of the water because what he was willing to risk based off how Riot trades is just not going to allow that to happen. So I mean, this is just really trading in general. And why a textbook isn't going to teach you everything, because it is, like Mario said, case-by-case basis, and you can say you want to lose $1,000, but that doesn't mean you can treat every single stock the same. Would you agree with me there, Mario?
Yeah.
As a fellow, we just taught ourselves how to do all this stuff.
And I mean, like, not only that, like, it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm going to be building into a move, and and sometimes I size in right away with what I want for my shares. Sometimes I'll build into the position. I'm not talking about averaging down on a loser. When I say build, like MRNS was a good example a few months ago where it ran up. It was extended on the daily. It was up like 3-4 days, and intraday it was getting extended. So I'd build into that I'd have my risk level spot, my stop in mind where I'd get out. But I mean, yeah, every trade for me, it depends on the stock. What I want to do. So,
but
I wish I could be more.
No, you're being more specific. The
more
one
specific,
constant,
but
the one constant though is you want to make sure that your risk doesn't exceed what you're willing to try to capture from the reward. That's the one constant, is you got to make sure that the risk, quote unquote, makes sense. Is that a fair? You're just making sure that at the end of the day, all else boiled down, you just want to make sure the risk makes sense to take, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like I say, if I'm risking 10 cents, whatever that dollar amount is, I want to get 20. I mean, on these higher price stocks, 30, 40, I mean, I'm obviously looking to get a little more, but yeah.
Right. So by definition, then, if you get a 1-to-1 risk to reward, then for you would not take the trade because the risk no longer, quote unquote, makes sense, right? Because it's 1-to-1.
No, not ideally. I'm not saying I haven't done a 1-to-1. I mean, I've done boredom trades before, but yeah,
well, let's say trades you should be doing.
Right.
You if the risk, the nice, yeah. Nice disclosure there, because we all done boredom trades. But as far as risks or trades you should be doing, the risk just has to make sense. Now, you mentioned boredom trading, and I'm sure this is where probably some losses have come about. But I'm curious, this is always a fascinating conversation. But when you were first getting started and learning and all that, how did you view losses? How did losses affect you mentally? And then, after that, fast forward to kind of how do you deal with losses now? How do you, psychologically process them? Because that is definitely a hurdle that all of us traders, especially new traders, can really struggle with.
Yeah, as far as losses, I don't know. I guess I never really was. I think my problem was I don't think I really feared losing money. Like, I would have my stop, okay? Say when I'd be in a losing trade, I had my stop, and it's like, I really didn't want to lose this much money. And then you let it go against you more, and I'm like, well, I'm already down this much. I mean, I got to like a point where in my brain where it clicked, like, whatever. And I'd let it run against me, like, but I was worried, I don't know, I was worried risking, say it was like 500, it was like, oh, I really don't want to lose this 500. And then I wouldn't stop out, and then I'd be down like 1,000. It's like, well, I don't know, for some reason I'd be like, oh, well, I'm done. Which, I mean,
well, at some point when you're over the threshold, you kind of decide that you're invested now. You're going to somehow get it back, and that's like a totally personal thing. But correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you had recognized over time that, if I would have just stopped out there, my loss would have been 1/3 the size it is at this point, and now I have to deal with this headache of working my way out. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I got myself in some bad habits when I first started. I mean, just average down in a loser, holding and hoping. I mean, the whole deal that I'm sure quite a few people experience, but
so you brought up something interesting, though. You said you never really had kind of this fear of losing. You know what you don't want to lose, and it would suck to lose it, but you've never kind of came into trading scared, did you?
No, but I mean, I've had some bad days too, like when I first started, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, trading like almost broke me. Like, I mean, I've cried before, and quite a few years ago, there was this pharmaceutical stock. I can't remember their ticker, but it ended up getting bought out. But all these phase 2 things, these they'd gap up on this FDA phase 2, and you'd short it and whatever, make a good amount. But this one day, this is when I blew up, or an account again, is I ended up getting short, and I'm like, well, why isn't this going down? Because like I'm thinking, well, this is everyone on the message board, this is junk, it's going to zero. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna short too and not mind risk. And so I'm averaging down, and I'm all in my 4-to-1 buying power, and it went
averaging up. You mean, right?
Averaging up. I'm not talking about Billy. I'm talking about a trade that just went against me, and I'm the idiot who doesn't know better. And I had 10,000 shares of this stock, and it went at $1.70 against me. Finally, Scott Trade, he ended up closing it. They gave me a call, Scott Trade had to take some action. Dude, I lost $17,000 that day. I told my wife, and I'm just sitting there crying. I'm bawling. I'm like, I want the best for my kids and this and that, and what kind of scumbag loses that? And so that I didn't trade for a while again there, and just still trying to learn. And my wife didn't even say nothing because I was so hard on myself. But I didn't want to give up. This is something I mean, as much as money as I lost, and I should have got education first, I want to do this eventually for a living. And to me, there's so much opportunity that I see every day. I just want to get better, every day at it. I love it. I mean, as hard as it is, something I want to do.
Well, Clay,
I'm not
correct
giving
me
it
if I'm
up.
wrong here. Right. This is you not giving it up even after multiple times where you've taken accounts, well under PDT and all that stuff and had a 17K losing day. You have persistence. You're not willing to give up. You say, oh, well, I made a big mistake there. It cost me a lot. It makes me a dummy. How can I not repeat this problem? And Clay, correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of persistence is generally what separates people who survive in the market for 6 months to a year versus those who come in, lose money, and just say, oh, the market's rigged and I give up. Good luck. You guys are just gambling the whole time. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mario, you clearly have a passion. You clearly like this stuff. So that's, if it was strictly money driven, you would burn out.
Yeah, I'm not in it for the money.
Yeah,
the time,
and that's very clear. And can you relate to this, Mario, where the lightheaded feeling, the kind of sickness in your stomach when like something goes really bad? Can you relate to that? Because I feel like that's kind of a rite of passage too. Is it's literally you get lightheaded. I don't know, maybe tunnel vision's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you can relate to that. You've had some lightheaded moments when you're.
Yes, I mean, it was hard to pick myself up and look myself in the mirror. I mean, $17,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, real world, but I mean, thankfully I had a good job and I was able to refund that account. Then to tap back on the losses, like now, say on losing days, say I go on a decent streak, okay, and all of a sudden I lose $1,500 one day. Like, that kind of mentally screws with me because it's like, man, I'll lose a couple days in a row or something. It's like, man, can I ever pull money out of the market again? Like, you know what? I have those doubts. Like, how am I going to pull money out of the market? Like, it just destroys my confidence. But you just got to press past that and, go look back at your spreadsheet on your days and what you're averaging and be like, that's why a good rule, I think, is to have a max daily loss no more than 2 days. Like, so at least you can make that back in 2 days with whatever strategy you use, But
no, I would venture to guess, because one of the running themes or that I see is, dang, Mario, why don't you just go full time? Why don't you just go full time? Because you throw up some good solid numbers on a good consistent basis. But I mean, you've already communicated this, but now hearing you talk about it, it makes sense. You're scared in the sense of, because what's happened in the past, and you just want to make sure.
And you got to remember, I mean, this is just within this past year. I've been at this for 5 years, so I lost money, the rest of the time. Like I said, I've lost over 6 figures. But not only that, I want to meet very high criteria for me to leave my job. I'm going to have our 3rd child on the way. I'm married.
Congrats.
We want a bigger house, and, so that's going to be more money. I basically want to be debt free, and, I want to have 2 years living expenses in the bank. Because, well, think of it this way. Okay, I leave, right? And what happens if something breaks down? You got a big medical bill, you need $30,000. Like, are you going to take that out of your trading account or living expenses? And if you've only been at it for a year, if you need a loan, what are you going to show the bank? Yeah, I had a bad month. I lost $20,000 trading. Can you give me a $30,000 loan? Like, are they going to give it to you? I don't know. You know what I mean? What if you need to, something comes up like that? I don't know. I'm just throwing thoughts out there, but.
Well, and another thing that a lot of people that I see, my wife doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom. Awesome. I'm going to go full-time trading. And you got to remind these people, okay, that's fine. But from a logistical, budget, personal finance perspective, where is the health insurance coming from? Right. You don't have an employer anymore that's going to pay for it. And I can speak for myself here that pays my own health insurance. It is not exactly cheap on a per-month basis, especially when you have 4 kids. But even if you don't have 4 kids, that is one of those expenses where, just remember, going full-time, assuming your significant other doesn't work and doesn't, you can't get insurance through them, that is a cost that isn't very pleasant that you're going to have to bear every month and that your profits are going to have to cover. And this is why I applaud you, Mario. And seeing the big gains are great. That's cool. But the reason I respect you the most is you see all these big gains, but you're staying with the guaranteed trade. And as we always talk about, the guaranteed trade is the JOB. Ticker symbol JOB is a guaranteed trade where you're going to bring home money. And that's what's allowing you to accomplish your goals and to keep peace of mind, because I feel like if you were just flat out full time, all sorts of new voices would pop up. And this is why I cringe when people that are not doing what Mario's doing. I mean, I would not call Mario crazy if he went full time because he's doing well. But for the people that have no track record at all, and then they're telling Ches or I, in the customer service or talking about it in the chat room, I just went full time. And wait, you did what? This isn't like a job where you just decide to become a day trader and paychecks are going to show up every 2 weeks. That's not how this works. So use this as a tale of caution. Listen, Mario doing very well, and he's still not ready to go full time. He's going to stick. And
he does very well.
Yeah, very well. I'm trying to keep it modest here, and here he is sticking with ticker symbol JOB. Go ahead, Mario.
I mean, income's not a dirty word, guys. I mean, if you have a job that allows, like I work second and third shift. Lately, I've been working second, but if you got a job that allows you to trade the morning, like I would think I would stick with it, honestly.
Boom.
But so. And not only that, like, okay, like for me, if I want to live comfortably here, gross is your take home, right? Yeah, I want to gross $80,000.
No, gross is before taxes.
Okay, so net.
I don't know. I'm not a CPA.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I got a C in accounting in college, but I think gross is before taxes.
I'll just say I want to take $80,000 home in my pocket, and I can live really comfortable where I am. Okay, so what you got a $50,000 account. I mean, you're gonna need what? Let's see.
A big return. You're gonna need a 200%. You're gonna need a 200%.
Like, I mean, so what? I mean.
And people, you ought to do that every year too. And there's people that come into this thinking that's I got I finally saved up a $25,000 account, and now I want to make $100,000 a year.
I'm not saying it's not possible, okay, but that's
I'm
a lot
of stress. I'm not either.
You know what I mean? I mean, people. I'm sure people do it, but you gotta really master yourself and your strategy.
And you summarized it perfectly, and I think, in my opinion, you just nailed the golden goose strategy. If it were me going back, you said second or third shift is going to allow you to trade the morning, right? I'm
right.
trying to think back. Yeah, so right there, that's great advice. If you want to be a trader and you want to learn and you want to figure this out, well, hey, put your money where your mouth is. Get on the phone with your boss or go find a job that has second and third shifts and say, hey, yeah, I know first shift is popular, but I have bigger plans for myself. I want to go second shift or I want to go third shift. Oh, Clay, but that means that ruins the rest of my day. Well, then stop talking. Stop yapping that you want to be a trader, because you clearly don't. You're not willing to put your money where your mouth is. And you know what? That's fine. Just don't go around telling everybody you want to be a trader when you're not willing to sacrifice and work crappy shifts so that you can trade the open. Because that's some of the best advice. Yeah, go ahead, Mario.
I'm born out as it is this year. Like, I'd be working. I was on midnight to 8 a.m. shift. I'd come home. Like, I hated that because, I'd have to look at my phone and see what's going pre-market. But, like, I'd come in, pull up the platform, and I had a general idea looking at my phone what I wanted to do. But I'd do that shift, and I'd trade sometimes till 3 in the afternoon. Or I'd at least sit at my computer just staring at screens and watching things. And I'd wake up. I go to bed at 3 when market closes, and I wake up at, like, 8. And then, like, now I'm at 2 in the afternoon, and then we're going to be going to work until 2 a.m. again. But so I'm getting to bed at 3, and I'm waking up at 7. So, I get like 3 to 5 hours of sleep, And then we were working Saturdays. So, yeah, if you want it, you're going to find a way to get it.
And this is why, once again, more data for Ches and I. You guys are jerks. You don't understand. No, we understand. We understand that where there's a will, there's a way. And here's another data point right here. Yeah, that sounds absolutely miserable, but you can make it work. You can absolutely make it work. The only one thing that I'm gonna get you right here, Mario, and this is tongue in cheek.
All right.
But if you would just listen to yourself, if you would just honor, okay, I'm done for the day, and be done for the day when it's like at 11, and then all of a sudden
that's a good running joke for us.
Yeah, that's the joke in the chat room. Is Mario says he's done, and then all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, he's got a new
Mario.
he's got another trade on. So eventually, it's become. Yeah, I'm done for the day. Yeah, whatever. We'll see you in 15 minutes. Go grab a quick little cup of coffee. But I'm telling you, Mario, if you just honored what you said, you could probably get another 2 hours of sleep every day.
I know. I can't help it, though, because I like watch. And that's another thing. You guys don't get the screen time. For me, that's what helped me. Just screen time, because eventually you'll start seeing things, you know.
And that's just part of the repetition and practice that, comes with just about mastering anything. And I mean, Clay, correct me if I'm wrong, because you put in a ton of hours before things started clicking.
Oh yeah, I've the amount of charts I've stared at, especially now when you factor in when I do video charts and stuff. But even before all that, I mean, I don't know, mind-boggling, but it is what it is. And all I'll say is, my wife has a heart of gold for putting up with me through all that, because I can totally relate to trading, just testing you to your limits, and you wouldn't think, like, what are you talking about? I think it looks like a video game. You guys are taking this video game too seriously. Well, when the video game has variables that are your hard-earned money, and that hard-earned money can disappear, it becomes much more than a video game. So, I mean, don't judge anybody until you walk in the shoes. And I realize, and I've said this time and time again, us traders, we sound like lunatics, but everybody's a lunatic.
I think
the only way to meet the lunatic videos... The only way to meet the lunatic voices is come trade, put some money on the line. Then you'll meet the lunatic voices, and those that can figure out how to master the lunatic voices, that's where the true success is going to come from. And yeah, that's some good stuff. Out of curiosity, so you were working crazy, just those hours, but what is your current, routine look like right now? Are you still doing a bunch of different job shifts? Or I guess walk us through a typical day from start to finish for those people that are fired up saying, all right, yeah, I want to do it. I'm serious about doing it. So what would a typical routine, a typical day look like for, a situation that you've been telling us about? So walk us through a typical day on average.
Pretty boring, basically. Right now, they have us, like I say, on 2 in the afternoon to midnight shift, sometimes till 2 in the morning, 10 to 12 hour shift. But basically, I wake up at 10 after 7. I load up my platform,
AM,
everything
right?
else.
AM?
Yep, AM.
Okay.
Central time, so 7:10, about 7:15.
Wait, you're in Michigan, right?
Yeah, you're under the bridge. You're the troll.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're Upper Peninsula, aren't you? You're basically Canadian. You are essentially a Canadian. That's right. I forgot. You are Michigan, but almost like the other country of Michigan. Sorry to interrupt, but that threw me for a loop because I'm like, wait a second, I'm Eastern, but that would make sense. So you wake up 7:05 a.m. Central Time. Got it.
Yeah. Basically 7:15. I'll get up. I'll load everything up. I'll talk to my boys for a little bit, make sure they're doing all right, give them hugs and kisses. They're going out the door, and I'm just scanning pre-market on what I want to trade, get my levels, then I'll trade. And then usually, since I like sitting at the computer, I'll watch it, but I rarely leave. I mean, I do sleep on the floor sometimes under my keyboard, but
we've seen the photos. Yeah, we've seen the photos too.
But like a lot of times, I'll sit up until I leave. I like to leave an hour before I go to work, and basically 10 minutes before I have to leave, I'll hurry up, get all my stuff, brush my teeth, and then I'll pick up like Dairy Queen or something on the way out if I don't eat here, and then I work and come back home, get home around 3 in the morning, or sometimes it's 1, depending on the shift, and sleep and get up and do it again. I mean, it's not really, it's probably unhealthy.
It's nothing fancy.
Because I don't eat right away in the morning. That's
overrated.
I don't get much,
you don't need
much
breakfast.
sleep. So, I mean, you got to be careful with your health, but yeah.
Well, you've been doing it this long, and you don't sound like you're low on energy or dying, so I'd venture to say your routine works just fine for you.
The guys at work would beg to differ, because every time I go to the hopper, I got my head on the steering wheel catching a nap.
Oh, there you go. See, you're catching your nap somewhere. As long as it's not while this truck and hopper's moving, you should be fine. But all right. So, but what would you say are some strengths that you've kind of developed over your time now?
The strength is, basically being comfortable trading because I know what I'm good at, and that's basically mostly short selling. So I'm comfortable with that. I got weaknesses that I got to work on though. So
well, that's a perfect segue. People are going to think we had this stage, but that was going to be my question: is what are some things that you realize you need to work on?
Well, because I did get myself in bad habits where I'd let a loser just go against me and I'd average in. I don't average down now, but like if I'm having, like you say, you talk about the bad thoughts, you know. Well, when I start saying, because I don't generally use hard stops. I got mental stops because a lot of times, you know, the price will get spiked a penny or three, and I don't want to get stopped out. But if I'm thinking to myself, and it's the trade's like not going my way, and it looks to go the other way, and you know maybe break out higher, it's like, well, you know, I got my stop here, but I mean, there's another level that's not too far away. It's only another 15 cents. I'll see what it happens. Like as soon as I start thinking that, like to not give into that, and lately I've just been putting a hard stop because then that just takes my decision out of the process. And the good thing about being a day trader is if I need to get back in, it's just a click of a mouse. So just, you know, so weakness I am working about because a lot of times I won't do the hard stop and then I'll let it run, you know, 10, sometimes even 20 cents.
You start to rationalize the loss is what you're basically doing is you want to stop the temptation to be like, okay, well, it's just another 5 cents. Oh, okay, another, and then you just keep rationalizing and rationalizing before you know, like you said, now you got a much bigger loss than what you had.
Right. So, yeah. But
awesome. Well, Mario, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's nice to finally actually have a good lengthy conversation with you. You are a staple in the community, and we always miss you when you're gone, and we always like to make fun of you when you say you're leaving and come back in 5 minutes, but we always do that in good fun. So thank you for being a member of the community, and thank you for this great interview. But I do know the main reason you wanted to come on to the podcast and volunteer to be a guest today was to borrow my time machine and go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice. What would that advice be?
Get educated. I mean, honestly, and I'm being honest, is if you want to get into this, you're gonna have to you know, really be prepared to go through a lot of emotions, go through money. You're gonna burn money. You know, even after you're done, you master, say, your paper trading. It's a lot, you know, different live, but you're gonna have to be willing to lose money, cry, and get educated, you know, and go from there. But if you're in it for the money or trading stocks like they're a lotto ticket, I mean, you need to change that mentality, you know, go into the day with the mentality of I'm going to trade well and take what the market gives me, you know, not I'm going to make money today. But I mean, I joke around a lot, like, oh, what's going on, Apex Predators, and just to make lighthearted, but I, you know, yeah.
That is good advice, and like I said, I'm in the same boat. You know, it's ironic a little bit that here's somebody that you would think, oh, don't get educated, go my path, figure it out, just learn as you go. Would be thinking, yeah, but here's. And I would say the same thing, and as I already talked about, did that with when I got into real estate investing. But yeah, get educated. I 100% can relate to Mario and would 100% agree. And that would be my time machine answer too, and that's played out, like I said, when I ventured into real estate investing. I'm like, no, screw that. I'm paying. Let me find somebody that I can trust and thinks I know what they're doing. And I will say this, real estate investing went smoother. Not completely smooth, always going to be bumps, but it went much smoother when I had a good plan, one step at a time, you know, to follow one by one. Now we move into the fun stuff, Mario. And I'm trying to think. I don't think you've ever revealed anything like this in the chat room. But what is your favorite movie?
Let's see, man. Favorite movie. I don't even know, Clay, honestly.
That's a terrible answer, Mario. Come on,
sorry.
Think. You got.
It depends if he's a movie guy or not.
I do.
Become a movie guy for this question. Just become a movie guy for this question.
I don't know. I like
TV. How about TV show? If I'm a little flexible. TV series?
Jess is gonna love this. I don't know, man. I'm addicted to Pretty Little Liars. Honestly.
Oh my! Hey,
I watch
Mario,
it with my
wife and I
every
watched
Saturday.
that wasn't
All right,
bad.
well, at least you watch it with your wife, okay? Because my wife puts that on, and I practically have to leave the room. I just,
Wait,
but
that
it's
was
okay.
the
You do it as a family thing.
Was that that was the HBO one, right? That was like 5 episodes long.
Yeah,
am I thinking
there's
of
like
something
seven seasons. It's got. I think.
What am I thinking of?
No.
I'm
You're
thinking
thinking of something totally different, Clay.
Oh,
watch it
okay.
on-
And
on
I
Netflix.
thought there was something on HBO. I thought that had Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman and
No, that ain't it. But I'll tell you this though, I do want to commend you though that you love your wife so much that you will sit there with that show and you actually can watch it and enjoy it with her. So
got her into it.
Oh, okay. Well, even better. She's gonna get a real kick when I tell her about this when I get off this. But
just clarify. Big Little Lies is what I was talking about that I watched with my wife. It was like 4 or 5 episodes long. Big Little Lies. So there we go. Clarification. Because I don't want to get. Sounds like I should not be associated with this according to Chess. So I'm separating away from this.
No judgments passed. That's my personal opinion. But anyways, what's your favorite meal and dessert?
I don't know. I like beef roast, potatoes, dessert. Banana cream pie, or I guess like a ice cream cake. Something like
That
that.
sounds about as American as it gets. Beef roast and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes guy.
That's America right there, folks. What about fun and hobbies? What do you like to do outside of driving big pieces of equipment and trading the markets?
Snowboarding. I haven't in a while, but I love snowboarding, dirt biking, four-wheeling, snowmobiling, just outdoor stuff, camping. We do try to get out camping a few times a year. So
yeah, you got a lot of kind of beautiful places to do all of that out there too, which is pretty great.
Yeah, Michigan's pretty state.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I've mentioned this before, but Kelly's grandparents had a place up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan at Lake Gogebic, and yeah, we would do all that stuff out there. It's just beautiful country. But Mario, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here.
Last question for you. What are 3 words you believe should be associated with successful trading?
Discipline. Discipline, persistence, and basically, I guess mastering yourself could go with discipline, but your strategy, know your strategy, know who you are as a trader, persistence, discipline, controlling your emotions. So just generally 3 or 4 things there, I think. So
I'll let it slide, Mario, just because I like you and I know I can give you a hard time. But I'm not a calculus genius or anything like that. But I think that was more than 3 words.
Yeah.
But we'll do this: perseverance, discipline, and awareness. How's that? Awareness because you're aware of yourself, aware of your strategy, aware of your emotions. Is that a good summary?
That works.
All right, cool. All right, man. Well, this was a good time. And just to echo Ches, yeah, we all like you. It's always a sign if people give you a hard time. That's usually because they probably like you. And we like to give you a hard time and you throw it right back. So it's always a good time. And I'd love to have you back on the show at some point in the future. So hopefully you'd decide to come on. And I forgot, but a public thank you. Mario was another one for the past couple episodes. I've been thanking people. I sent out an email and Mario replied to it and volunteered, which makes our life much easier. So from me to you, a public thank you. And I mean, how was this? Did you have fun? I mean, is there really anything to be nervous about? This was just a normal conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very awesome to have this with you guys. And I'm not that good of a speaker, but I wish I could be more. As far as my trades, like what I'm looking, you'd have to ask me specifically. I wish I could have been not as vague, because there's so many things that are running through my head and what I'm watching before I.
No, you weren't vague at all. You said it all, and you explained the whole thing with you want to simplify trading, but you can't simplify too much. You are trading as long as the risk makes sense. But that just brings about the question, well, how does it make sense? Well, that's where it's a case-by-case basis and why you have to learn and form a strategy that works for you, because what makes sense for him may not make sense for somebody else.
And if you notice, like, I will short stocks that are still bullish on the daily, that are in an uptrend. I will still short them and get that, little fade. So, I mean, just because... Or just because I'm shorting at a resistance zone, I'm not saying that stock can't go higher. I'm looking for that extended move intraday to get that 50-cent dollar fade, you know, and every trade's different, but yeah, I mean.
No, I get YouTube comments. Why are you shorting that bullish move? Did you ever think that maybe you're defining bullish differently than I am, and maybe to me that's actually a bearish move, which is why I'm going short?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just it's trade by trade. That's why anybody that's trying to sell you some boilerplate strategy, one size fits all, no, it doesn't work like that, because we're all different upstairs. We all have different tendencies, different preferences, and you know, like Mario said, just because something may be bullish on the daily chart doesn't mean that what he's looking at, maybe in his mind, because he's looking at other factors, it's actually bearish, and that's why he's fading and still making money on the trade. But anyways, yeah, we'll have you back, Mario, and we'll do some more talking, because this has been a good time. But looking at the time, we'll wrap things up, and I appreciate you hanging out. So will you come back again at some point?
Yeah, no doubt. If you guys, yeah.
If we can put up with you long enough.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely come back on if later
Perfect.
on.
Well, I feel like you should go take a nap or something right now. So I won't, or I don't know, watch Pretty Little Liars, one of those two. But do whatever you got to do, Mario, and thank you again. And before I wrap things up officially, for you listeners out there, if you are listening on YouTube, make sure to check out the remainder of the channel. First, click the like button on this video, and then check out the channel, to which hopefully you subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, be sure to subscribe. And especially on iTunes, if you could leave us a rating, that goes a long way in helping us out, and we really appreciate it. And then finally, if you're listening on the website, claytrader.com, on the show notes page, leave us a comment, click that share button. We do read those comments, and we will reply to them, and we appreciate it. But as always, thank you to you as listeners. Thank you to Ches as our esteemed co-host, and thank you to Mario. And thank you, listeners. We will see you back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.